we'll be discussing piracy in 4.0 and how it changes the rules of quantum interdiction and dampening. With that being said, I'd like to welcome our special guest, Space Cutlet. Welcome, Cutlet.
Hi everybody.
Just to throw it out there, it cut off like half of your intro.
Just a little bit. It's fine.
God.
So
I
question for
derailed
you,
it.
Cutlet. It's fine. Don't.
Oops. You guys don't know that he just called me out on the fact that I'll probably derail the intro, and I didn't even mean to this time, and I did. So it's kind of funny.
So kind of like, I got a question for you. How long have you played the role of like a pirate in Star Citizen, and when did your journey as a content creator begin?
I played a role of a pirate before piracy was in. Actually, I was. If I knew that question would like come up like this, I would probably bring up the very old video from my YouTube channel, like somewhere long down there, where I was already trying to understand how I can mess with people.
Yeah.
And I remember back in the day when we had no interdiction, no Mantis, no Caddy Blue, nothing. And I think we had like, at that point, we had Dalamar already, maybe not. But the Crusader obviously was a not a real planet. It wouldn't rotate. It was just like a dummy, right? A shell.
Yeah.
The old Crusader, which means because it wasn't rotating, there was no like there was just a static exit point from a certain direction, right? So it would sit on that exit point, and I don't remember. It was either from Delamar or from something different, but I would know when someone would like get in. I would know specifically how much time they need to spool up and jump out, and I mind you. At that point, back in the day, VoIP was actually working properly. And whenever you would be in a ship as a pilot, your VoIP would extend to like 5 or 10 kilometers, actually. So other pilots can hear you. And I would like the moment someone comes in, I would start screaming at them so they stop the ship. And I knew exactly how much time they need to jump out. So if I see they're not stopping, I would just destroy them. But if they do stop, I would go and like, inspect their ship and, hey, what you carrying here? Oh, a box. Okay. The delivery guys would freak out who would be like delivering the boxes. But there was no commodity trading, I think, back in the day. But I was already doing this kind of RP bullshit just to meme with like and mess with people, right? So it was like very, very long ago. And then obviously like 3.0 came in. I think 3.0 was when the trading became a thing, or 3.2.
Yeah,
and then we obviously we all understand no cargo back then, like only the small boxes that would appear when you destroy the ship. And then obviously 3.4 with the initial jump town with a huge like PvP breakthrough in regard of persistent universe PvP, not arena commander PvP. So like all of this was funneled into Jumptown. So at that point there was more like ransoming, right? Yeah. Extortion and ransoming.
Oh, before they had physicalized cargo.
Yeah, obviously. And again, there was no back then still no QDs, no Mantis, no Caddy Blue. So it was mostly utilizing already existing EMP mechanics to shut down the ships before, because back in the day, like Yella would be the warp out distance would be either 10 kilometers or 20 at Yella, and there was no nav mode, so we were going relatively slow. So you had the time to just disable them while they reach that jump threshold, and you would disable them. And while they go back off, like go offline, online, back and forth, you would talk to them, and if they pay, you let them go. So it like evolved slowly. I think I started streaming first at 3.4. Then it was just like a hobby. It kind of stopped at some point, IRL, whatsoever work. And then I came back to streaming at around end of 20 or start of 2019. I think start of 2019. and yeah, now it goes since then.
That's cool. So
I feel
Elder,
like we should get Dead like doing more morning streams. He's so like jolly right now and smiley. I'm sorry, not to change the subject, but
just saying, coming
he's just
from like this is
it's
when I'm
such a
usually
genuine
away.
smile right now we're getting from him. It's hilarious.
I'm a morning person to some like degree, right?
I'm not. Oh my god, I'm so angry.
I was gonna say, like, I do to some degree remember like holding down. I think it was like prospectors that were on like Lyria or locations like that, and you could say, hey, you've got like this much time before we like shut you down, and they would try to get away. You'd like distort them, and then they'd be like pissed off because their ship would blow up shortly after, right? I think they implemented that like in when was that? What patch
You
was that?
mean Quantanium? Oh, that was much. I mean,
Was that
depends
much
on
later?
depends on which time frame you're talking about. But yeah, mining was initially implemented in 3.2, as if my memory serves me well. Yeah, and all the trolling of miners started happening basically even before Jumptown, right? But also like ransoming them and all that. But good old times, man. Good old times when you would see the pings of miners, they would like grow as a bubble, as a blue bubble around them. So if you do it properly, you would see someone like 100 kilometers away. You would see like on the horizon a blue bubble, like boom. Oh, there is a miner mining, and you're like towards there. Yeah, good times.
Do you ever miss the days of like classic Jumptown when CIG was a little bit more hands off with like the drug trade routes, and they actually just allowed players to hop in there, buy all the shit, get blown up, and then just rinse and repeat?
I don't necessarily miss those times because we do have it. That's the thing. I think like there is this misconception that CAG killed Jumptown. I think we transitioned over the years into like this gameplay where we do have it. Like RMC, I mean, obviously RMC was problematic because of the dupe problem where everyone would earn like giga millions, right? Because they were double selling all the RMC they brought like a few patches ago. But what if you disregard that, right? That bug, what was it if not the Jumptown? It's like literally the same thing. A super profitable route where a person without the armistice zone, where a person goes and risks, and then if they're successful, they earn a lot of money. If not, we get the cargo, basically, right? So we have this like islands of Jumptown across the game. I think it's just the perception, because previously there was nothing but Jumptown. And now the game, after the original Jumptown, over the patches, over the years, like have grown so much. The population is much more spread. So we don't have it like, oh, there is Jumptown and nothing else, right? People will do like missions. People will do like, we will never get like to all jump. It's more of a nostalgia thing rather than a valid like argument, because the game grows, right? People have different stuff to do.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head too when you said that like there was nothing else to do, right?
Yeah.
So now it's not an issue because now you got more people have more content, more things they can be doing. So I think the issue now transitions over to population, where before all the population was in one place and it was only one place to go, right? And now it's like they have multiple places to go, but there's too low of a population for you to
100%. Like that's why server meshing and all of that needs to be here, so we get our Jumptowns like everywhere, and there are more people to find, there are more people to interact, because like if you think about it, yes, the armistice zone issue is a problem, but if you think about it, we had multiple of these things going over the years. We had Jumptown, then 3.8 game, we had like Laranite Rush on Ariel with Bezdek and Lathan, right? Everyone would be doing like Laranite, all that. Then we had like RMC. We're having like gold even right now. Yeah, it's not that maybe popular again because like the population grow thin across the activities, but like we have like SCD1, SMO 18. It has issues like elevators problems, but basically there are those hotspots to hunt. It's there. Like we and like, so I don't feel bad about them doing their own little jump town event, which they think is fun. I mean, they CAG. We are having the original jump town like reincarnation in other things now. It's fine.
Yeah, my biggest concern, honestly, is just that yes, we need server meshing. I'm afraid. Although, okay, it's a start. I am fearful that it's going to be like a 250 server mesh with two systems.
Between two shards, it's not going to be enough, especially with how expensive like Pyro
like
is.
If you do 250, but then this 250 is Stanton and Pyro, it will actually become worse than we have right now.
Yeah, it's not content at all. It's
right.
I think personally, I think what
maybe
adds
that's
to the
how you like
is,
phase out PvP though. If you really think about it, if there's no players,
that's the
down,
plan. I'm sure that's the plan.
That's no. Tinfoil hat moment. So actually, do you think it's really nice that they finally lifted the NDA for 4.0 for like broadcasters?
Yeah, I get the question. I'm completely neutral on this. If they wouldn't lift it, I wouldn't care. If they lift it, fine. They did it. I think the major thing was what they did before, like few patches before, that they stopped like prohibiting streamers to talk about it.
Yep.
Because that was the most awful and like silly thing to have, where there are like Star Citizen leaks. Everyone knows the minute the patch goes out, everyone knows everything. You know everything as an Evo and as a person who watched like the leaks. And then you start the stream, you play like PTU or like live, and then people come into your chat and they start asking, and you just like put up this smile. What are you talking about, guys?
Although I know
I don't know.
the pipeline probably will tell you, but it was like a formality. It was basically a formality.
It was like, and I communicated it to CAG multiple times. Like, stop making idiots of us. Stop making us like pretend we don't notice an elephant standing in the room, right?
Yeah, pretty
much. Let us at least normally openly talk about like what is leaked whatsoever. They went like one step further now. They allowed like streaming. I don't know if that's gonna hold. If they will do the same with the next Evo, like 4.1, let's say, right? Or is it specifically for 4.0 because they understand how much like people are waiting for it? So they're like being a little bit more open with it.
I think that they're trying to do that to keep the excitement up.
Yes,
I think they're
trying to keep the hype up, and they're trying to they understand like moving 4.0 out of Evo may take some time. So in this way, they're like relaxing the tension a bit more. I don't know if that will continue further. Do I feel it's like good? Like I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. Like, I don't spend too much time in 4.0 because like there's that much things for now you can do. And I think like the moment there will be more things to do. At that point, it will go like at least wave 1. So I guess it's okay. Like, I know a lot of people are losing their shit about it, like streamer privilege and all that stuff. But like, it's
I think honestly, I think it's a smart move because of the fact that they're they're so behind on schedule with it that I think it really came down to like a necessity, right? When people hear about something being an Evo and they have no optics and you can't talk about it, it really doesn't feel so real that it's actually coming. And by having the ability where like streamers with their streamer privilege being able to actually show you that it's working to a point where it's playable to an extent, right? I think it's a smart move. I mean, they can't allow people to keep losing interest, because it's not cheap, right? It's expensive. They need people to keep wanting to buy stuff and seeing that it's moving forward. So I think it's a good move personally.
So speaking of 4.0,
one more point I want to add to this. I think what will happen in future with this logic of lifting off NDA with the streamers on Evo, I think also will depend on how streamers will behave. Because if majority, especially bigger streamers, will be running around 4.0 while it's an Evo and shitting on it because it's like certain things are unplayable. They will probably stop doing this if they understand the community, especially like bigger streamers, are fine, like behaving, quote unquote. They might continue this practice because, for example, like when I do 4.0 and I have issues, I never get tilted. Like, and I always try to like tell my chat, guys, this is what Evo goes through every single patch. This is normal. Like when I'm having 5 FPS at the station, I don't lose my shit. It's because of every time this happens in Evo, like with a
What's
new
the point
stuff.
of Evo?
Yeah, that's the point of Evo. And I'm like, watch it grow with patches, and then boom, like we get to the next patch, and I have double the FPS at the same place, right? And it's happening, right? So I think it's also will depend on the attitude of especially bigger streamers with the Evo, and we'll see how it goes. All right.
Okay. So first question, we're going to get on topic with we're going to talk about interdiction. So my question for you, Cutlet, is how drastically will the role of quantum interdiction and damping change when 4.0 drops and static server meshing is implemented?
All right. Here is a good one for you.
Let's hear it.
They have to first fix the interdiction in 4.0. You know it's not working, right?
I hadn't heard about that. What exactly is
well,
it? Just like
does
not
work.
registering, or
It does work, but if a traveler leaves from one DGS and is getting interdicted in another DGS, he will not get interdicted.
Oh, it doesn't transfer over. Like there's no proximity.
It's like the mantis and whatever logic that of the DGS that holds the mantis, it doesn't understand there is someone traveling from another DGS. So that was I knew it would be a problem. I was 100% sure it's going to be a problem. And the first thing I did when I got to 4.0, guys, let's go and test if that actually is a problem. And it became a problem.
Oh, good call.
So that's hopefully, I mean, they are aware, obviously. I told them. Hopefully it's going to get fixed. And because that's going to be a major problem. Like if people are traveling, like if you interdict in an open space and they're traveling from a planet and planet is a DGS, right? It's useless, right? So knowing CAG, they might either fix it or they may keep it broken like for next year, you know? And then all the
that's the question.
and then all the mantis, all the snare plan just goes to shit, bro.
Pretty much.
Right.
Speaking of snare plans, I'm going to share a nice little resource that has been around for a while called the Dolus snare plan. I'm going to put that up. Can we go to a meaty channel? Because I want to ask a few questions about that next, if possible.
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, cool. So right now, do you have any like certain routes that you think are like the most popular? Or have you like found kind of trending? I've had like some decent luck with like gold. I know as soon as like pyro comes in, this is all going to be very different and look very different, interesting.
That's a question to me, right?
Yep.
Well, we mostly like it's funny how recently I haven't done a lot of like piracy because I'm just like on a big cooldown, you know, exploring. We have 3 builds. We have I showed 4. We have 3 builds right now,
3 builds,
and they're all changing and they're like constantly patching them. So for quite some time now, I'm like jumping between all the builds, just checking out stuff. We do some piracy, but mostly we kind of try to scout the golden routes, which is SCD1 and SMO18, right? The two main locations where people buy it.
Ones,
And for some time now, we mostly use mantises as big dampeners. I don't remember the last time we were sitting actually on a route waiting because it's like problematic in regard to like what a person is going to do. Like there's no definitive like routes. Well, let's say they buy at SM018. I'll keep saying it's SM018, but I'm so used I'll keep saying SM018. It just sounds better.
Just say SMO. It flows off the tongue a little bit easier.
It's just so let's say we found someone at SMO. And they have 2 options. They can either literally do a spline jump to New Babbage, which makes no sense in the game logic. Why would you even make profit out of that jump, right? But they can do to New Babbage a spline jump. So then you have to put a spline snare, which is actually cool to do. But or they can go to Arcorp, which gives you more money compared to New Babbage, but just takes more time, I guess. But now, considering they have to manually load, and travel is not now the biggest like time waste in the entire route, I think majority of people will be gravitating towards our corp cell. But still, it's like guessing. And if you don't have like enough people, because I usually run the small team, right? It's like Blues, Corn, like Tumblr, someone else, and I don't like over bloat usually my team. So like we count people, and then someone has to be distortion, someone has to be like lethal, and et cetera, et cetera. So whenever you want to like actually snare it, you instantly get this thing. You have to bloat the amount of mantises. You have to put one on a spline jump. You have to put another on the R-Corp. And then dude takes off, and for whatever reason he decides to go and sell it at Horizon, and you're like, well, shit, he's gone.
Do you ever find like the unpredictability of that leads to a lot of just waiting around some nights?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and we end up just doing the dampeners, which is so I don't know if you guys noticed, but they've lowered Atmo a lot.
Yeah.
And they've so now the moons, I don't know if it's a bug, if it's a I
think it's just Daymar actually, from what I've seen.
No.
Is it others?
Do you know that the end of gravity, it's not so when I say Atmo, I don't mean like the altitude counter. I mean
like gravitational pull, right?
Gravitational pull. You know that the gravitational pull of Microtech ends at 32 kilometers now instead of 100.
Wait, oh, very nice.
Yes.
So you don't have to wait the entire atmosphere to finally.
So we just why would we bother with a Mantis, right? If we're being logical, we just wait for the guy, we bait him out, then someone starts shooting him. He's like, oh, pirate, da 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 da. Our guy back strafes. We're 35, boom, disable, and he drifts, right? And that's it. And now there is just no risk. The dude will jump somewhere we don't know where. And speaking of a gravitational thing, I want to, if you didn't know about that, you probably don't know about another thing. That's probably going to be a surprise for some of you. Do you guys know that they've implemented the gravitational pull gradient now?
I'm sorry, come again? My brain
Gradient. Gradient. So the gravitational pull is not binary anymore. It's not 1.1 G either on or off. The further you are away from the ground, the less it's gonna pull. So at Microtech at 30 kilometers, the gravitational pull would be like 0.1 G.
Okay.
So if they have enough inertia, momentum, you can just disable them, and they will go the last the last few kilometers out, and it's really cool to experiment with. If you are at the very edge of gravity, you can literally jump off your ship and keep these hands in the air, how the character does when it falls, but he would be not accelerating. You will be 1 meter per second in 10 seconds.
See, that's good. Yeah.
So
that's an intro, because that gives the opportunity to. Okay, so I remember when Horus or Crusader, it was if you were in that gravity well, you were immediately stuck in that free fall, right?
It would start
at a consistent rate. And somebody tried to come and catch me, but because of the desync and the free fall speed, it was basically impossible. So now you could be at such a slow rate that it's an easy.
Yep. We did a lot of testing with that. We were catching each other back and forth. The only problem though, the switch between the logic of EVA and gravity is still binary. So even if you're at 0.01 pull, you cannot use your EVA thrusters. You will get stuck, unfortunately, in this falling animation. You will have almost zero speed, but you will not be able to like EVA out of it, right? That's like the problem. Another thing, I don't know if you guys know, if you're talking about like the gravity and all of that mechanic, and this is a piracy podcast, so I guess that's can be interesting to someone. You know that the certain ships now accommodate for the weight of cargo?
Wait, really?
Yes.
So they actually added that. When did that?
But mostly the ships only with external cargo, like Hull series.
Okay.
So it's Hull A, Hull C, and the Raft. Raft is called Raft, right? The orange one, the orange
Argo
one,
Raft.
Argo Raft, yeah. And the small one, the what's it called? MPUV, the new MPUV that holds the cargo.
Yeah.
That one, yeah, but that's not important. What is important with the Hull is the Hull C stuff. We did days of testing, basically parking the Hull C at, let's say, at the moon, right? Not even at the planet. At the moon, we would park it like a Elon Musk, like SpaceX. We would extend it and park it on the pad with the engines down. And we made all the calculations of actual weight it can take off from the 0.3 gravity. It was crazy interesting. That's like cool. How much you can load it from the outpost to be able to take off with its own like power of engines. It's
so
crazy.
The weight is only considered by ships that have outside cargo.
Well, we noticed it only with Hull C and like Hull A and the Raft. Like Raft, it's weird. It's almost unnoticeable, but the Hull C is the best example. When you park the Hull C in gravity in an outpost, you start slowly loading it, and then it starts to struggle somewhat depending on the weight of the. So whenever you pick up the box with a multi-tool, it shows you the mass. It shows you X amount of kilograms.
Yeah.
It's actual mass. It's not the weight. So depending on the gravity, it would have a different weight. So 1.0 gravity takeoff, you probably can load only like, if you take an average cargo weight, you would probably be able to only take off with 1/3 of Hull C full. At the moon, we were like doing 2/3, depending on the cargo, like, and then it just struggles. It just doesn't take off. It's really cool.
That is really cool. See, I knew that they meant to have that mechanic as part of the game, but from my understanding, like if you were to load, I don't know, like an M2 or whatever, a C2 with cargo, they created a grid where it's assuming it could only take so much weight, but it doesn't actually apply to the ship. Like there's no actual effect on the weight on the ship yet. So that's why they made the grid the way they did, to say this is how much, if weight was a factor, this is how much it would actually be able to handle.
And it's really cool to see. Maybe it feels like a little bit useless information, but I think it's overall, it's regarding to cargo hauling and to piracy. It's nice to know that this is progressing.
It is. I agree. I like that.
I like that.
Actually, Zarek, who's in the chat, he has all the numbers written down somewhere in the notepad where he knows exactly what weight a Hull C can pull off with its own engines. Yeah,
can I? It's crazy to think. By any chance, asking for a friend.
It's crazy to think that pirates have any brain cells. I can't believe it. I mean,
no, griefers, just
griefers. According to what global chat tells us. So yeah, you just swing a,
Frag. What were you asking? Because I didn't hear you.
What's
asking for a friend.
I was saying, asking for a friend. Could I have that list of like all the weights and all the values? That'd actually be really handy.
Yeah, if he still has the those values, he no problems, of course. Yeah.
Okay, I do have a question about like. So I was watching some EVO streams recently, and I noticed a handful of the locations are selling stuff like gasping weevil eggs and stuff that's like very cheap in pyro, and then it's gonna be if they haven't switched up the values, very expensive for like selling over in Stanton. Do you foresee or predict any like choke points for cargo in the near future?
Okay, we are switching to the 4.0 discussion, right? And so
Yeah.
it's a huge
Mhm.
topic. So
Yep. That's cool.
it's a huge topic. That's probably expect quite a long monologue from me right now. So I want to start it with I don't remember which dev was that, and I don't remember where, either on Spectrum or in Discord.
Mhm.
There was like this very definitive sentence from them when they said Star Citizen will very soon start feeling less like a GTA like RP server
Yep.
Mm.
and more like an MMO, right? So, and
Okay.
obviously the whatever they've shown in CitizenCon and all that. So, 4.0, we yet don't know the how extensive it's going to be, but from everything I see from reading between the lines, like communicating with certain developers, the economy part, what economy joke insert here. Um, yeah, the economy part of Star Citizen is going to change, like dramatically is the wrong word to describe it.
Yeah.
And we
And
don't even
4.0?
know in 4.0, yeah. And we
Really?
don't even know the full, like, how would you say it in English?
Extent of what
Extents
they're
of
gonna
it,
be. Yep.
right?
The-
Yep.
So yes, those locations, like I've been like my last playthrough in 4.0, like few days ago, I literally dedicated myself going through a majority of the outposts, and I've seen commodities not ever seen before, like oh man, I should have prepared all the screenshots. God damn it. Well, there are commodities. If you think Weevil eggs are expensive, you're wrong. I'll say it like this.
Are there like
There
new
are
ones that are?
commodities like 50, 60K per SCU.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I guess there's a couple of factors here too, because you have to consider we've been seeing things like the cost of repairs and missiles and fuel is a much higher, right?
Yes.
So you're going to have the necessity to be able to move expensive cargo to make larger profits to match that as well, right? I guess my question though is have we heard them say that this patch or these plans are going to dramatically change things? Have they said that before, right? And how true do we think it's going to be this time?
Yeah.
I think there is no black and white here. Everything is always gray. So I expect to see still a huge impact on how people perceive money in game.
Yeah, which I hope for.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
yes, hopefully we're not gonna get the day one a degenerate exploit that will make everyone
Oh God, I
billions
hope
and then
not.
no
Yeah.
one will care, right?
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
hopefully that's gonna be fixed.
we'll
Oh,
see.
here we go. S'mores
We'll
is
see.
putting up the names.
Okay.
Demantium, Atlassium. That's like the stuff we found. You can buy them like at one outpost, let's say 10 SCU, but that 10 SCU costs you like almost $1 million, right?
Damn.
And
Wow.
that opens up the possibility for like small ship smuggling, right? You don't need like a C2 to make a 1 million trade. That's
Yeah.
like really
Yeah.
cool. That's
Oh,
like
here I
like it a
really
come in
lot.
cool.
my PvP cutter.
Exactly.
The stealth cutters.
That's like really cool in regard to you don't now ignore everyone if it's not C2. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
have to scout, you have to understand what the
Yeah.
targets, what they're doing. It's so much, it's gonna add variety to
Oh, it's gonna
us
bring a
as
lot of
pirates.
risk too.
It's gonna bring a lot of risk, and it's gonna be harder to chase a small target without killing it completely and actually like get the hold of that cargo if it's like 510 SCU compared
Yep.
to just like, you know, jumping on top of a bulky like C2. So
Mhm.
that will change. I went in 4.0 to Stanton. I opened at some point it struck my head. I opened the Moby and I opened the journal with the long forgotten commodity price alerts. if you remember that thing.
I do remember
and it showed on deacons.
Wait,
and
did that disappear? I haven't noticed
No,
it.
it's there. It's there. It's there.
Oh,
No
okay,
one
all
just
right.
uses it.
Yeah, yeah, no.
But it showed on deacons and Hicks. It showed bioplastic, which
Yeah.
was not really like something crazy. It was like only around 60 AUC per SCU, which is like nothing. But it like caught my attention. I'll go to those outposts to see what they have. And I go there, and they have, even in Stanton, the commodities that were like 70k per SCU, even in Stanton.
Mhm.
So I don't remember the names. It was like there was something foam something, and then crazy like scientific names, basically, that they're very expensive. The supplies are low. Again, it's not that you can buy like a full C2 of that, right? But it's not going to be around what we see right now with the Weevil eggs costing like 19k.
Yeah.
That's like nothing compared what is
So,
coming. And then
yeah.
now this screenshots with torps for 300-400k, with the
Yep.
bombs
Can we
for
actually
almost
bring that up?
700k. That's
Yeah.
really good. That's really good.
It's really cool though. I'm sorry not to cut you off, but it just
okay.
sounds really cool, because you got to think, like you said, right? You'll have the smaller ships that may actually still have very high value items, and then you got to think there's going to be those guys that get greedy and have no protection and carrying a very large expensive load that could be a huge payout. So it's, I mean, all of that, it just sounds like very good opportunity for good gameplay, personally.
Oh yeah. And you have to understand that all of those outposts on Pyro, there's no armistice zones. So for
Oh yeah.
them,
Oh my goodness.
I'm ready
to
for that.
actually pull that this is your like literally system-wide jump town, right?
Yeah.
So you just cannot pull this off alone. Like there could be a dude just like sitting and camping, and you're done.
I'll
Like
be there.
yeah, you're done. That will require an operation. You will need at least some sort of cover to be able to pull this off. That's like pretty cool, right? That's pretty
So we'll
cool.
see probably like a change in the way people work together potentially.
100%. Yeah,
I really hope so, because that'd be
yeah.
nice to see like more collaborative,
People
cooperative and collaborative gameplay, right?
People are going to learn the lesson quick, I think, potentially.
Yeah.
Also depends
Speaking
on population.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of choke points, I don't know. You asked about the choke points. I think until like interdiction probably gets a major rehaul, I think the logic of choke points will remain the same. So obviously it's up to them to make the patch more stable and add all the features for us then to discover the major trade routes. So I cannot just say, oh, this is going to be the choke point, but
That's
anything leading from high value targets probably back to the Stanton jump gate, and then all the mantises are sitting there and waiting before they jump in. And obviously no armistice zone, people will be camping on foot a lot. They will be camping all those points. And while the interdiction system remains the same in general, I think we will still get the mostly same gameplay that we're getting right now. So it's either you camp the buy spot or you camp the major like trading lane. It's just going to be different environment and probably more variety. So yeah.
My only concern with that is just like lack of encounters being an issue, especially when they're at the lower.
Yeah,
because I think someone had already mentioned like maybe 350 or like almost 400 was the last player cap for EVO. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I was just reading chat here.
380. Right now they're running EVO at 380. We need more. We need more.
We need to be able to at least
especially after them trying 2000. It was almost unplayable, but the moment you see that value, you cannot unsee it, right?
No, of course
Yeah.
not.
Because you
And
gotta
that
understand,
needs to be a minimum.
you gotta understand, like, first, 1,000 was unplayable, and then after like X amount of patches, 1,000 was much more playable than it was at first. So they are making progress. They are eliminating bottlenecks that that
Yeah.
give that awful like experience performance. They are working on it, and they can do it from what it sees. Like they patch after patch, like so right now they're mostly like frozen into stabilizing 4.0 with all this like pyro builds. But previously, you remember the old playtest, right? So where they were jumping with the population. They were focusing on like working on the population, and you could see progress at every single patch. So hopefully, I'm afraid that 380 might be our 4.0 population, and that's scary. I think like CG should aim at least for 500 at least,
Even that's
realistically.
going to be like very thin, you know.
Well, I think 500 on 2 systems will feel better than 100 right now.
Oh
It
yeah,
will be
absolutely.
better.
It'll be a huge improvement regardless, but it's still going to feel.
But it's still gonna feel thin, but like 380, 300, 250, that's gonna be like really sad.
I kind of wanted to jump back at what you mentioned about people like camping those spots, right? Specific spots people go to buy.
Yeah.
And that makes me think also that it brings the need of like, because they're gonna do like FPS like scanning and things like that, and how that would also add to that, like looking for people that are camping out those areas by using like those FPS mechanics too, which I think adds another dynamic.
Like FPS scanning.
100%, but that's like copium. Because whenever we're gonna have 4.0, we will not have it. So we're discussing right now immediate like things we're gonna get in our hands.
Fair enough. That's copium,
like
for sure.
Like 2 years later kind of situation, you know.
Like you could think, you can think about this like this. In future, you will have all those scanning and all that. Also, you would have probably properly working NPCs at those outposts. So if someone messes around their outposts, if he messes around once, twice, 3 times, they'll probably start hating him, and they will just like zombies just hunt him down and just know where he is and go for him. So he will not be able to lay down and like camp you forever. They will just hunt him down, right?
And right now we don't have those behaviors. Like I'm thinking of some of the settlements for like RMC like sales. If you shoot someone on the ground, they don't attack. They're neutral regardless. If you shoot one of the NPCs, that's when they start attacking. I'm hoping that like when we get those reputation systems in play, if you do something stupid, they're actually going to turn on you, because it's almost like a soft security at that point, you know?
Yeah, it's like you're making mess in their outposts. You're not allowing their business to prosper. Of course, they will attack you. If you notice, in a live patch, when you go to Grimhacks, apparently that system somehow sneaked in live while it shouldn't be still there. You go to Grimhacks, and it gives you a warning whenever you exit the hangar. Yeah, it tells
you
when
you're in the station, when you're like spawning in, it'll say like when you spawn in, like say you die and you come back, it'll say this is a neutral territory. Any like aggression will result in.
And if you've noticed another thing, I don't know if it's still on live, at the top left where it shows like the eye of the monitored zone, there is a new icon. There is a new icon
I saw that.
in Grimhacks that is like the same waves, like on top and bottom, like but instead of eye, there is like a line with a dot in the middle, and that probably somehow in future will tell you that you are like in such a territory where your actions will be monitored, and then you can get like hostile with whatever. So that is slowly creeping into the game, certain parts. It's not there yet, but something is going on.
That's cool. Actually, I have a question. Speaking of like security and things like that, do you think haulers will have issues with like crossing jump points with illegal commodities? Do you think there's going to be some kind of like soft scan security system, or has there
Yeah,
been anything like that seen yet? I'm just kind of curious
that's
about that.
that's a big question. I think it's we will not know until we know. Like
Right, of course.
whatever
Yeah.
the CAG manages to implement, like in Eve, whenever you run something that is illegal in whatever part of the secure space, there is
Yep.
always a chance you can quickly pass through, but there's always a chance like a customs officer will lock you, target
Mhm.
you, and see you have like illegal cargo, and then
Yeah.
you can get into trouble. Um, it's just, I think, whether
I
CAG can implement this or not at
I
that
would
point.
see
And
them doing it that way though, where it's like a
yeah,
chance.
and then on top of that, like how would I put it? Is it really like dangerous with the current like NPC abilities? Okay, they scan you, and because we have NPCs scanning, right? So
Hmm.
basically, like pretty much you jump in, and there would be just like we're getting the scans right now. An NPC would like stop, I'll scan you, and then you have to make a decision what to do,
Yep.
because like the moment if you comply and you have illegal cargo, the cargo will just go poof from your
Yep.
inventory, like it
Do
happens
they
right
start?
now.
They also start attacking, right? If I remember
Yeah, they
correctly. Yeah.
no, I think if you comply,
Yeah.
uh they will not attack. They will take the cargo and fine you, and you have to pay off that fine.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think you
If
can
you
like
run
just spool
away,
out. Yeah, you
if
can
you
just
run
like
away,
spool out
they
without
add
moving.
crime stat to you, and then they will attack you. So I
So I
think
wonder
if
if
it
too if they'll change that, because I know if you jump while they're in the middle of a scan and you just jump
Nothing
out, then
happens.
nothing
Yeah, you're good.
happens, right? And
well,
I would
Right.
think that you should get a crime for that too or
th-
something.
that's you did get a crime for that previously, and I think it's
It's
either a
just
bug
broken.
that you don't,
Yeah.
Hmm.
or it is a temporary like plug, like workaround, because in a lot of cases this scanning will be so delayed, and it will like pop up on your screen, but you press the jump already, and then you're gonna get and you would get like a crime stat. So people
Yeah.
hated it.
Yeah.
So apparently they plugged this with this logic, but obviously it's a very flawed logic. Yeah.
I was gonna shuffle it over just because I don't want to get too much into like theory crafting. Try to
Hmm.
avoid that when possible.
Hmm.
Can we? There was a significant boost in like prices for like components, right? Like
Hmm.
missiles. We were just talking about that. Do you think this will encourage players to strip off valuable ship weapons and components after soft deathing and like a
Um,
fighter or something of the
Might
sort? I
create a
can
whole
actually. Can
new.
we go to media because I do have like
Yeah.
some of the like new prices for some of the stuff here brought up
yeah,
here.
I think it all depends how what will be
This
the sell prices of these components. I
Um,
think that's all
yeah,
depends.
I
It
haven't seen
might.
the sell prices. I just saw the buy prices, which
I,
I'm
f-
glad to see
I feel like
missiles
it could
are like
create a
up.
whole new.
Whole new exploiting loop.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially because there's no
because
like
if there is a
system.
torp that sells at 390k, right? How
Mhm.
much you'll get money if you sell that torp back? Is it
Right.
like even if it is like 30% of price, and you get like 100k for that torp? That's already like, imagine how can you farm this? You'll just keep spawning eclipses, or you keep spawning your A2s. Okay, so let's say you get like 200 for that bomb instead of like 640, right?
It's still like a lot of money.
Imagine like you spawn one A2, boom, you just got like 1 million, let's say, right? And you
Yeah.
just put it on a long claim, and you forget about it. And you come back when it's out of the claim, like in an hour, and you boom have another 1 million just out of nowhere. It's crazy. So this is the one of the things I tried bringing up on I think with Mike on his podcast,
Hmm.
that for this is a very good effort, what they're doing, but for this to actually work, um the non-expedited insurance should give you back the ship without any ordnance and with minimal fuel.
I do agree with that.
Expedited insurance should refill your ordnance and fuel, but you have to pay a basically a full price for it,
Hmm.
for the ordnance. So if you want to expedite like an A2, you should pay like how many millions, how many bombs it has, right?
Yep.
So that's what I think it should be. Or at least you should pay as much money as you would get selling that ordnance. So, for example, if you have, let's say, 10 bombs, it's not 10, I know, but if you have 10 bombs at this price of 640K and you sell them for like 100K per bomb, if you sell them back, right? So it's 10 bombs, it's $1 million. So when you expedite it, you should pay that, right?
Yep. I do agree with that.
That's what I think.
That makes more sense because then you actually have something to lose by not like replenishing it. The timers actually also for claiming should be increased. I know they did it at one point. There was a lot of complaints.
Oh yeah, everyone hates it. They cannot.
I know they hate it, but I think it's like inevitably going to be a thing that happens, right? Regardless of what people might think. So I'm actually looking forward to that. They also need to implement some kind of like fraud system to prevent like, salvaging your own ship or, taking like components.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't like they've talked about it. I'm surprised we haven't gotten to that point yet,
Like it's hard for me to understand how they will do it though. Like I just don't understand. Like with all the promises they did and with them trying to constantly like jiggle wiggle in between somewhere like, oh, we don't want to make people mad, but then we have to do something.
I think they just need to like take that risk, like real talk. Yeah. Because if you don't push it sooner, people are just going to get used to it.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse. The longer you wait with this, it's just going to get worse. Like, yeah.
Right.
I don't know the answer. Like
I got
honestly.
Zarek calling me out for theory crafting, and he's right. So I'm just gonna stop there.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next question. We're gonna shuffle from like interdiction because we don't know too much about what that's gonna look like with 4.0 not having QED working.
One thing, theory crafting again. I'm sorry. Bolt confirmed that in future, that's something I really wanted to happen, and so basically, CEG confirmed that in future planets will rotate around the stars and moons will rotate around the planets like it's supposed to. So that's just to the point that sooner or later the entire like interdiction and snaring will get like completely reworked, because the moment that happens, the way we use mantises will no longer be valid, right? So
1 second. Elder, do we have time for live callers? I was going to check with you before.
Oh yeah. I have like another hour for sure.
Another hour. Okay. You said like beforehand. So I just wanted to make sure we were like still within like a good time frame for that. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a good question for you. Say you have like your ideal like team built for like piracy. What are some of the key factors required for a successful like piracy operation? And do you have like a preferred approach behind that?
Yeah, 10 Polarises, man. Easy.
Yep.
Listen, like if we're being realistic, I'm more of a meme pirate, right? Because like I just cannot take anything serious in this game, at least for now, right? But when you look at like
a smart man.
Yeah, like when you look at like let's say Mongrel Squad, they're taking shit serious, right? They do all these spreadsheets, all the calculations, the incomes. I just face roll it. So the more degenerate I make it for myself, the better and funnier it is. Like if I fail, I don't give a shit. So saying that I have like a setup, no, like it's the obvious stuff. I really want to torture people. I really like it. So I just don't soft death them. So it's my approach definitely going to include a lot of distortions.
Yep.
A lot of boarding just for the fun of it.
I love boarding. Boarding is like hands down like one of the best gameplay loops that they've added to the game. Like soft death.
A lot of trying to VoIP and opening Mobiglass to see if it works. But
VoIP can be fun too, because if you down them and you get in an FPS situation, you take off your mask and make faces at them. Like, I feel like that'd be fun.
So
Elder's a LARPer. He plays a lot of like roleplay games.
Yeah. So with the experience we had like yesterday, I think, is we were toying with a Polaris on PTU. and
Yep.
we found another Polaris at SCD1, and he was like escaping. So we bubbled him, and eventually we soft deaths him. Obviously, there is no piracy there, but we got the guy. He was in a sperm suit. We got the guy, and he tried like boarding our Polaris, so we knocked him out, and we dragged him to the brig. If you've toyed with a Polaris a bit, you know it has a brig compartment where there is a specific room with 2 rooms that are like cells. So we dragged him into the brig. We locked him down. It's actually done very well. You cannot escape it.
That's good. So you can't punch right out of it or anything, right?
Sorry, what?
You can't punch out of it or anything
No.
that? Like,
you cannot punch out of it. You cannot like dance to. You cannot like sleep out of it. You cannot reach those buttons. You're locked. So there is no button. There is no button like on the inside, and the button that is on the outside has a lock option, so you can lock it. And and there is a very funny small window like near the door where you can put food. So you use it once, it opens, you put food, you use a second time, it closes, and it opens on the side of the prisoner so he can take food. So we fed him with Krasluxes. And then we realized he was injured. He had a tier 2 leg injury, so we knocked him out again. We dragged him to medical. We healed him up and put him up back in the brig. So yeah, that is kind of a pirate I am overall. So yeah, I love all of stuff. So I always mix like fun and profitability, but the usual setups are like obvious, like few bubbles to just to make sure that we don't have like a single one running that dies and that's it. It's probably like a mantis and a blue. And then there would be someone who would be running probably. Recently I started running the Hawk a lot. Just
what about
because
the Antares?
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Can the guys hear whatever comes out of the Discord?
Yeah.
Give me a second. I have a soundboard for that.
Yep. No problem.
Antares.
We actually have a guy in our org that like multi-boxes, so he uses like his second account to like dampen and like EMP, right? So it's actually pretty effective too. Like it's got good,
very
like, top
effective
speed and everything. But for the like co-pilot, if it was
down.
like a regular player, it'd be like, okay, I'm pressing buttons, and there's no like proper interface. It's awful.
That's
so
weird.
No
Why
comment
don't
on that.
have my own? Why I don't have my own soundboard from my whatever? Yeah, it's a soundboard when I said on stream one day Scorpius Antares is pretty cool ship or something. I just cannot put it up. Yeah, I don't know where it is. Anyway, yeah, I started using Hawk. It's cool. It works. The EMP plus distortion, it actually works. You can put down a majority of the ships. You can even save the day without a bubble. Like whenever they go nav, your distortions are enough to like just shut off their quantum drive before you shut off the ship. So you
What's
keep
what's the speed of the Hawk? Is it slow? Is it fast? Like
it's like
because it was always known to be a glass cannon, right?
It used to be like really great with forward acceleration, but it had like no like movement for like agility, like moving like, you know.
Yeah, agility isn't the strong side. It's
all.
like a nice amount of guns and EMP, and let's be real, it's enough to deal with the slower targets, right? So I've been enjoying that a lot. But yeah, usually like few bubbles. A Hawk, probably someone would be running an F8 like full distortion, F8 sucker punches or something for like crazy disabling. You know, and then Catnuts would be flying usually his Connie no matter what. So when we need like shields removed, he does that. And then like random stuff. Nothing too crazy. I don't have like a special build. There is no need right now for some crazy strats because there is need for content right now just to find someone. That's the main thing. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like that is always the like big search is like trying to find those encounters in the first place. You're just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I always feel that a healthy server ratio is like mostly PvE and like some PvP. So you have some competition, but you also have targets, and they're not being scared off by a bunch of GFs in chat and just like, what the
Yeah.
hell is going on? You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the moment
Yeah.
someone sees that, it might be enough to like
To switch the
have them
server.
log
Yeah.
off and swap
Yeah.
servers. Yeah. So keeping a
100%.
low profile is like I think very important. Like not saying anything in like global like, hey, don't go to RMC like sell locations or here, like announcing your like whole
Oh,
position.
bro, that's
That
just
that
like,
shit drives you crazy.
yeah,
E-
like,
Unless you're just trying to get a fight, that's fine.
oh
But
yeah, but that's what
yeah.
why they're doing. Like, oh, SCD1 is under lockdown, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like, come fight me, right?
Under
They're not
lockdown
willing
for
to
like
pirate.
board gamers alpha strike team, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So sorry, dumb jokes. So do you have like a crew count that you like to have? Is it like groups of like 4 to 5? Do you think that having too many people scares off players?
That usually is around the amount of people we have, like around 5. Give it or take it. Sometimes it might grow to 10, maybe.
Yeah.
In a rare scenarios where like it's just because I just log in and then
Mhm.
the I log in and then I see my chat and then I see like those hands of zombies getting out of beds. Oh, he's streaming, let's get on. And it's just like it's like brains and it just rolls. Like I don't have a ping that would be like, oh guys, we assemble, I need to stream, let's get the no. It's like if no one appears, I'll just run it solo, right? I can even run it solo, right? It's obviously much it's harder and to do like all that stuff solo, but I will be still like doing scouting and trying to find someone on meme. I don't have like this like specific team setup, but it's usually around. It starts with usually with 3 at least, and then ends up in the biggest case with 10, but very rarely, unless we have a fight going. And when the fight going, if there is an actual like proper PvP competition, then I just tap into the powers of a ramming department, and then
I was just gonna say.
and then just everyone gets fucked usually instantly.
I was gonna say, do you remember? This is like I think last summer. I ran with you guys a couple times, just like randomly, and you guys would sometimes be in like smaller groups of like 4 to 5, and then sometimes it was like a massive zerg. So it always varied, which I thought was kind of neat because then you get like a healthy like flavor of like each type of gameplay too. You don't get bored with like the same group. You get some like it's refreshing. But I think the wait time for like piracy is what always kind of kills me. Sometimes it depends on like the trends of the patch and everything. If people are like last what was it 3.23 or 22? No, 3.2. Numbers hard.
3.2 or 3.20?
3.23.2.
Okay. Because 3.2 was very. 3.2
I know,
was
no, it was very, very, very different, very different.
I'm just confused now.
No, it was a few patches back. There was this whole meta with the mobs where they would just go to Lagrange points and look for component salvage or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And you couldn't find players. There was nobody running cargo because all the freight elevators were broken. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was when 0.2 dropped initially that everything was just completely dead.
It's broken right now too already.
It is, yeah. Like sometimes they work, but there's no guarantee that it's
still
going to keep
breaking.
working.
It's still breaking after like certain amount of days of server existing.
Right.
It still breaks. Yeah.
Right. And because they don't like properly 30K, there's no like reset there, so it's problematic. Do you like running with like stealth or like low profile like presences? Okay.
Yes. I have my hawk fully stealth out. It's like detectable at like below 2 or below 3, something like that.
That's pretty good.
Because that's not a combat ship. If I'm getting focused by a combat ship, I'm dead anyway. It's
you just gotta. That's a zoom and boom. It's no different than like a Buccaneer. You just get your burst in there, EMP, and then just.
I use it to scout, and then when other people appear, I would use the distortions on EMP. So I run one stealth cooler, I removed the second one. I run the slipstream power plant, and
Yeah.
I run mirage shields, and
Yeah.
its get is
Have
quite
you
low.
have you tried the saber recently? I think that's down to like 500 or 1,000 like
Yeah,
meters.
maybe, but maybe,
Yeah.
but like, do you really need that? Like, if you're
No, probably not.
scouting like that is
Probably not.
enough, right?
That's
You like
overkill. Overkill.
below 5 kilometers, basically, just for usual scouting is enough.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
the thing
Especially because you're
is,
looking for like larger targets, right?
unlike
Yeah.
the saber, hawk provides an EMP, right?
Yep.
That's the
So it
thing.
has that like
That's why that's one thing I want to say about my setups is I mostly run only utility ships. If it's just a if it's a combat ship like in Mark II or something, that it means I'm pissed. Like I
yeah.
need to
You
push
just
in
need
some
some
shit, right?
DPS. Yeah.
Like someone
Yeah.
just messed with me, and I'm like, okay, now you'll get a Hornet that is detectable from 20 kilometers, but the moment you see it, you have to run away, right? So,
Yeah.
but usually I will run only utility ships. Majority of us will. Not
Mhm.
everyone will be stealth, but we would have like probably one combat ship in the team, like that is purely combat, like in a Mark II or something,
Yeah.
F7A.
Yeah.
And obviously we would have a Katniss who is like just a Connie
And
degenerate who
Connie.
would just like
Stealth
I
Connie.
love
Stealth
that.
Connie, right?
I
Just
love,
stealth
yeah,
Connie.
stealth Connie. I love
he's
that there's actual like building for stealth and everything though,
yeah
and
I
that
do.
is worth something now.
he's
It's got
stealth Connie in regard of people just probably don't respect it, and they would like get into the dogfight with another fighter because they're
yep.
more afraid of it, and then Katnuts comes, like pushes the trigger once, and that guy who was fighting me, let's
Just
say, he's
melted,
just
right?
dead. He's just
Yeah.
dead, right?
Mhm. I used to fly like razors primarily back in like 318 because
Mhm.
nobody would like bat an eye. They're like, oh, it's a fucking razor. Nothing's gonna go on there. Always had like ballistics. So as soon as someone bought like RMC or like Slam, I'd like bust into the back with the ballistics, jump
Yeah,
into the ship, land in there, and then just take off with their ship.
yeah,
Kill them
yeah,
in like
yeah,
FPS. It was always
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
So that's my approach most of the time. I like just like playing the role of a thief is just fun, I think.
Yeah, it's
You
fun.
know,
Yeah,
like the
mess with
logistics
people.
behind it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I just
Yeah.
don't like to mess with people on armistice zones. Like there are always like people in chat that would be like, "Oh, just like here's loading, just get on the ship." I'm like, I have this like
It feels
red
like
line.
cheese. Yeah.
Yeah, red line. I never cross, and I think it just for mental self-preservation because like you don't want to go lower than certain point. You want to do piracy, you want to mess with people, you probably like upsetting them is the part of the gameplay, but you don't want to cross the line that is like cheese, right? So if the guy is
Yeah.
buying in armistice zone, I will never touch him uh until he leaves it, right? So
Hmm.
You don't
unless he
want to give
pisses
them
me
a
off,
reason to mass report you either.
kind of, yeah,
I will
unless he
report
pissed
you.
me. I had like in the past year like one or two encounters where I would start messing with people in armistice
Mhm.
zone, but that's just because they were running their mouse or something,
Yeah, I gotcha.
It was personal. Yeah.
That is one of those like situations where it is kind of a weird balance game where CIG has to like implement some sort of system so it isn't just a camp location constantly until like proper security systems are somehow implemented, right?
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like boarding the ship is free game though in armistice.
They
So
can't defend
I don't see
themselves.
anything
That's
wrong.
that's the issue that
They
I have
can
with it.
defend themselves. I don't feel it
Yeah.
personally, like I will not tell someone not to do it, right?
Mhm. But you won't do it
Because like
yourself, right?
everyone plays as they want unless they're like really breaking TOS. But for me personally, I don't feel that's like a good thing to do because like what can they do about it? You sneak around the outpost and then they see you running into the ship. They cannot even shoot you, even if they want to. Right? They're loading cargo. Like the same thing is like running to a person and start like taking his cargo from his elevator. Right? It's
Yeah.
unpolished mechanics that are
Mm.
there, and like CEG had done nothing for now to protect it. And I feel like I'll just keep my hands away from that.
Yeah, I
Like
guess all I really meant was like I don't see boarding of the ship in armistice. It's not like the same extent of like pad ramming somebody or
yeah,
something
of
like that.
course.
You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah, there is definitely a gradient of being an asshole for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely prefer though, like my gameplay, I would definitely prefer it is like scouting them out from outside armistice, when they leave
Mhm.
armistice, doing a fair
He
game
role
like that.
plays
Because
for like 20
yeah,
minutes. He's talking about it with
oh
his
shut
flight
up.
girl, and it's just like,
No, but seriously, like that. See,
mhm,
that's much more of a
yeah,
challenge. Just much more fun in that situation. You know what I mean? So that would be.
yeah,
I barely get out of my ship anyway. They were
Yeah.
making fun of me
Yeah.
because I didn't know my way around a hammerhead or where the freaking top turret was the other
we
night.
kept joking.
And they were
There's
like,
no
"All right,
bushes. There's no
so
bushes in the
so
hammerhead, so you can't hide. You
the
know,
only
I get
cockpit
it.
I can find in a ship is usually in the Gladius or like the Talon or something, you know?"
Yeah. Just force him to learn Polaris.
Yeah.
Force
Yeah,
him to
Oh
learn Polaris. Yeah.
once you learn that, you'll be good.
I think also CG has to do a better job with all the ships falling down to the ground, like because it kills a lot of gameplay when you disable someone, and unless you have like an SRV, they will just fall and get hard death, right? So
I think
Yeah,
I think
there's
though
currently a
that's
bug.
coming with but that's
Yeah,
coming with like Maelstrom and all that stuff though. It's not like an explosion, a ship
yeah,
hard deathing through
yeah,
explosion. I think that's why
definitely.
they haven't really put too much work in that, is because really realistically once Maelstrom comes, it's not supposed to happen like
It's
that
not.
anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be different. Yeah, I
mhm,
hope that
yeah,
just happens because that kills right now a lot of
I agree.
gameplay. Though with lower gravity altitudes, it's became
mhm,
much easier. Like on
Yeah.
the moons, it's almost not a problem. On a Daymar and other moons, it's like only like 6 kilometers. That's usually that 6 kilometers happen before you disable them. So yeah,
Well,
on planets is a little bit higher, but still.
Cutlass, excuse me, Cutlass.
It's fine.
Cutlass.
I identify as a cutlass too. Yeah.
So
He's a
how
Drake guy,
many?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times have you watched though a soft death ship fall, and you guys, like you and maybe whoever you're with, just watch it and hope that it doesn't blow up on
Oh, a
impact?
lot. Yeah, a
Right?
lot.
Yeah.
We also like kind of know that like let's say a caterpillar has a much higher chance of
Yeah.
surviving when it
Yeah.
like lands nose down
Mhm.
compared to like other ships. If the overall the collision damage is such a weird thing, like how it works in a Star Citizen, but you could like do few things to mitigate it. Like let's say if you're doing this to a C2, try to solve death not through the nose, but when it's gonna nosedive, it has
Mm-hmm.
its nose HP full, and you have a slight chance of it surviving.
Yeah.
Obviously, it
Mhm.
depends on the speed, angle of approach to the ground. There are so many
Yeah.
things, but yeah.
Typically, try to go for the top back wings on the Connie because then you just full dead stick it like
Hmm.
up in the air. That's
Hmm.
personally what I like to do. But
Well, that's
I know
why
what you mean.
too. It's good that like being able to use
Yeah.
distortions, right? So it's as
Mhm.
if it's soft death, but it's not. So by the time it hits, then it will probably hit the ground in soft death as a result,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So actually, there's what was I going to say? Completely blanked. I was
don't
going to
know.
say just a reminder that we are taking live callers. So if you guys haven't joined our Discord, please feel free to pop in. We'll take some calls. Otherwise, I know we have a few questions that are we're kind of coming toward the end here. A question that I actually had for you was with an increase in ship repair and component costs, do you think piracy will at one point not be a viable gameplay loop in a risk versus reward situation?
It's gonna be harder.
Yeah.
We're gonna get more into an actual game scenario where you have to where pirating with 10 Polarises probably won't work, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Where you have to understand every time you're doing an op, every time you're out there, you have to understand what you're risking, of course. And that's actually going to make it more interesting. I think piracy will still be
Yeah.
available, always be a valid gameplay loop. It's just more
Maybe more or
thought
less.
would go
Yeah.
into that. That's why for years I play the game in a non-suicidal way. I try to
Mhm.
like survive until the end. I will never like backspace. I'll never backspace my ship. I will never backspace my character. It just adds the proper flavor to my own experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a majority of my crew does that. Like,
Yeah.
let's say Blues, he just hates like losing a ship or something, and not because he doesn't have money. it's because of like how we perceive the gameplay. Like him
Okay.
actually getting smacked in his mantis, which he usually runs, is like a very rare sign. Like he would do like everything to survive. He will like freaking lose one of his engines and he will still try to control that ship and like crash land it somewhere and survive as a character. Like it's
I recall.
that's good. That's good. That's good because I want the piracy to be something hard to do, not like a normie job. Like there is a little bit of a gatekeeping like comes into play here, because like, we are the OG pirates, and every time piracy becomes easier, every time you don't have to collect handheld small boxes for 2 hours after a caterpillar got destroyed. Now with the cargo refactor, like the cargo refactor came in and it's like, oh, now piracy is easy mode. You don't need to ransom, you don't need to do this, just like solve death and it's done. And it always feels like we're like this gatekeepy feeling where, oh, previously I was the one, now the piracy is done by anyone who knows how to shoot the gun and like solve death a target, right? And that feels bad, like on ego, right? But it feels good that the game progresses and the piracy becomes less of a workaround, more of an actual gameplay.
Yeah.
So now they need to strike a balance that it is hard to do, not because you have to know 69 workarounds for it, but because of the overall balance of the game. How do you make it like positive income with all the losses you take, right?
Right.
Let me troll Mortars for a second.
So
I
was
want to
gonna say,
ask. Hold on there, Dad. I want to ask you.
I remember a certain tank from Brios that you tried to keep alive for a long time.
Oh,
it was engineering
my God,
gameplay.
that was
Do you remember
such
this?
a
Do you
good
remember
thing.
this? That was
When we
the
were running
best.
we were cannibalizing other tanks to take the components and revive the tank. It was so good. Oh my God. That's the gameplay I'm looking for. Exactly.
It was like we actually had like a taste of engineering gameplay. You remember that? Like it was cool. You're just like, I'm focused on keeping this thing alive. Let's get it out of there. We had no way to like prop it up into a ship, but you were still like focused on trying to keep it there. It was hilarious. But it was cool good. Because I hope that we have that kind of value with our ships and our, components in the future. Hopefully, I don't know. Because right now it feels like, it's easy mode, like you said, with I can just reclaim my ship, all the components are there, nothing lost. There's no value. And
I also think the moment they dial in a little bit more with all that engineering stuff, on the other hand, never mind. Like solve death is going away as a thing. So I don't like, because before engineering was as close as it is right now, my whole idea was give us tools to stop the ships from drifting properly besides SRV, and then make it so you have to disable a ship and then board it. So because like the solve death like keeps all the cargo. So my idea was like solve death should take like on average 50% of cargo, and like hard death should take like on average like 75% of cargo get destroyed, right? And then the only way to properly get the cargo would be like actual disable and board. But right now we're getting close to engineering, and all of that is kind of, I guess, not important anymore, because solve death as we know it will just go away. It's going to be like, it's just going to be like components are going to get disabled.
It'd be like a progressive thing where things stop breaking.
Yeah. And that will make it much more interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be pretty cool too to like where soft death would be kind of like maybe you don't hit the components, but you take out all the engines and it just can't fly, right? Something like that.
And then you board it, and then you have to repair it if you want to move it.
Yep. No, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I am wondering. I'm sorry, Dad. I just wanted to ask you though. So, what's your take on that? With the increase of the ship repair and components costs, will piracy be beneficial in a risk reward situation? What do you think?
I think it's
you
how
asked
you play
him.
your cards.
Yeah.
I think if you're wise about your, like, you got to be like efficient with the numbers that you have and what you're running as like a fleet composition. I think if you're playing your cards right, you can actually get more out of that situation. Even if you're just like soft deathing a ship, if you had like an Argo, like SRV, you could pull out like that one, what do you call it, Connie that you might soft death, and then salvage that, and then right there, that profit is going to be viable.
I think it could end up being pretty a pretty high reward, high risk situation. Yeah, I agree.
I'm just going to keep using razors. I think it'll be fun. Just saying. If I
He's
need to
good
kill
with it.
Polaris, just aim for the
Tier
windshield.
5
Right?
razors.
Mortars is going to hate if I say that.
A bunch of
the one time I
dragonflies.
like,
We just use all
hung out with
dragonflies.
him, he was like, "Why do you have just racing ships?" And he was just giving so much shit for it. So, do you guys have any favorite piracy stories that you'd like to share? Anything that like really comes to mind as like a highlight of something you've done that just sticks with you?
My memory, bro. I think it's like we had so much good stories, but like just snapping out of my memory right now. Maybe someone in chat will help me. Besides that brig adventure from yesterday, I don't know. It's just in majority of cases, I obviously like when there is an interaction between the target and the pirate crew, where they don't just like self-destruct and all that, or just backspace. It's hard to like, because there have been so many of like cool scenarios. I don't know. It's like it's a mess in my head. Oh yeah, what Zarek says. We actually had a hit recently with a Hull C.
Yeah. What happened
And
there?
it was a weird one. It was not like a Hull C trading. It was a Hull C that was doing the cargo job for the guys who were doing the like either one or ERT missions.
Yeah.
And it was like semi-full with quite a lot of money in it, all the different stuff. And there was like we couldn't disable it. I don't know what was wrong. We couldn't disable it. We brought all the shields down. We were pumping like EMPs into it, and we were pumping distortion into it, and it never went like offline. It's either something wrong with a Hull C, or like size 3 or whatever components has like maybe insane power of just amount of distortion pool in them. But it was a very long chase at like 100 meters altitude on Daymar, so he was trying to bait us into the ground because he had a turret gunner that we couldn't stay like on a position. We had to like, so he was running very low, so we cannot get below him because there is no turrets below him.
Right. Yeah.
And we had to like constantly maneuver it. So he did a really good job on trying to survive, but it was just too many of us. At some point, I made the call to like soft death, and like it was fun that we would, while like attacking him, we would shoot off accidentally one of the spindles with cargo, and I was like, stay with the spindle, and one person would stay behind in a damer.
That's really cool.
Just like
So wait a second,
controlling part of the cargo and all that. Yeah.
If you take off the spindles, does the cargo go off with it?
Yes.
I've never. Okay, that's really cool. I like that.
So you, in theory,
really
you can
neat.
just shoot off the spindles and let the guy go. Yeah.
Cool. Like that.
And in the
That's
end,
pretty cool,
we just soft dest him. He never like crashed. He never hard dest on the ground. He was quite low. And then like we had some misunderstanding there because all the markers are messed up. We're like spread across, nothing works. So I was like camping for a while, just sitting with a gun outside, never boarded it. And at some point, the guy Zarek also came out on the ground, and they jumped out. So we had like I didn't think though they had like good weapons on them. They had something, but it was like a little bit of we cornered them when they were trying to like break distance to hide in the shadows because it was like night. But we cornered them, killed them, and it was like GG's in chat. They were actually not mad or anything.
They probably had a blast. It sounds like one of those groups
like
who
that,
really likes that. Yeah.
And took quite some time to load all this stuff and just get out of there. Yeah,
that's really cool. Do you think that like when things are valuable, there's going to be less murder hoboing and more like intentional like gameplay? You're going to want to get those resources from the players as opposed to just like killing everything on site and just rolling around,
Yeah, Yeah. Well, we'll see how long it takes us to get there to that point, right? So,
That's point. Yeah.
yeah, with all what they've showed at CitizenCon, at some point we'll be there. Yeah, but
We could see more of that in the next patch, though, in 4.0. I mean, with the prices, the price increases.
yeah, but
To some
I
degree, yeah.
think what 4.0 will bring is this reworked pricing and economy. What it will not bring is need of those resources to do something, right?
Mhm.
Unless there will be a giga surprise and we will see
Which it won't be.
the base building, like at least the small part of the base building with 4.0, which
Yeah.
I doubt. I think it will be at least 4.1 or 4.2, but I do definitely think we are going to see base building at some point during the next year.
Mhm.
So then resources and all of that stuff will matter. Even the lower tier resources, probably they will be just needed like in a big amount. We will see like this shift of why do you do stuff? Why do you even move those resources? Why do you mine them? Why do you buy them? And why do you steal them in the end of the day, right?
Right.
Yo, piracy rating. Sorry.
So we did have a couple questions. You guys want to take those really quick? And again, like this is just an invite. If you guys want to pop into the Discord, this is for like viewers. Just hop in. We'll take calls. Probably give it like about 5 minutes or so per call. Otherwise, there were a few questions that I just wanted to address there. So just
Yeah,
give me
there
a
were
second
only
to
a
bring that up.
couple, I think.
Here's a question. I'm going to start off with Gorgon's question. Why does Space Cutlet wake up so early? Is it the Grease Space Dads with work from home jobs? Are they receptive to interrogation in the presence of sunlight? And how do you expect VTOL Gorgon to spawn a Polaris before 9 a.m.? Goddamn Euros.
Yeah, it's goes back to me making call that I needed some Polarises for the testing when I started my stream, and I
Yep.
was like at crew, I need Polarises, and obviously like he's Canadian, very friendly Canadian with a size 10 Peters now, proud owner, and but he was asleep. Yeah. He's just wait a space can wake up. Wait, give me. Is it the No, yeah, the griefing space that's actually this early is usually is hard. Like that's we're getting in a time zone where the fun actually begins.
Yeah.
We're slowly getting
Do you
into
have like a preferred like point of the day where you see the most targets? I've found like EU afternoon or like like morning our time is kind of like
course,
ideal.
yeah. It's
So-
like when you start. If I start early, it's much harder. Yeah. For me, but
yeah.
honestly, it all depends on the server. Like you have to consider this: whenever you are on a full server that is like 100 people, it doesn't matter what time it is. It is 100 people doing something. So you're like throwing a dice. You've thrown a dice, and then you get your RNG 100, and then you figure out if they're doing anything that that with what you can interact, and then you give it some time, and then after that time passes, like let's say half an hour, if you're willing to specifically camp a certain spot, like okay, the run from this spot to whatever sell point takes on average half an hour. If no one comes back to that spot in half an hour, that means no one is actively running that route. That means, are you willing to wait for someone out of 100 to start running that route? Or are you willing to try and re-roll the dice on a next, like completely different 100 people, right? When you get to a new server. That was my logic over the years. I would usually go in, okay, we identified our points of interest. Doesn't matter which time zone it is. We would like set our scouts. We would give it a certain amount of time. If nothing happens, we basically re-roll to another server, right? That's how I
Something
usually do
that
it.
I've been finding that has been pretty effective is watching for servers that have ECN alerts, like multiple, because it means that like the bots are like bringing
The
down
Vaughn missions.
cobs, and they're doing the Vaughn missions. So you want to start camping those like cell locations at that point, because then you actually have like something to interact with and take out as a target.
Yeah, one thing we do with mantises is sometimes we would just put mantises between Yella and Daymar. We would take 2 mantises and we would put them on the both ends to be like completely unexpected. So we're there and we're not at the cell location, which they can kind of like, scout and run away or something. We would just put between Damer and Yella, and if they do a direct jump already with cargo, they'll just get instantly caught and clapped with all those weevil eggs and all that. Yeah.
There was actually a really good route that we were running the other day between Cruel One and Crusader, where you had like people that were getting out of the refineries and then heading to the planets to
sell.
Usually, to sell or like to return back. And that was interesting.
Yeah, it's always a mystery with miners. Yeah, it's always a mystery for me. Like, I wasn't able to consistently harass miners in a long while, and probably because I never tried to recently. But it's always like a mess. Like, there are multiple refineries that are somewhat good, and there are like refineries that are really good. But then there are a lot of people who don't care about that, and they would still do Cruel One, right? And I've never know
like Arkel One and like Cruel One are still the popular ones.
Arkel 2, I think, actually is
really
better. I think I'm not sure. So and then it grows into this thing that you need at least like 5 scouts to scout like the basic stuff, and then when they find it, like, how would you chase? It's too late. You cannot converge because he's already taken off with his freaking cargo and he's jumping somewhere. So you on top of that, like 5 or like whatever 3 scouts, you have to have 3 more like mantises already in position waiting to catch. And what if he decides not to sell it Arcor, but he decides to sell it Orison from Arkel 2 by whatever God know what reason, and then you're screwed. It's like it's too much variables. But one thing I know,
the RNG behind like mining doesn't help either, because it could be like bringing them anywhere because they're looking everywhere for the resources. So that can be tough too.
Yeah. I've seen some people running Hephaestonite from Pyro to Crusader, usually to Orison. But that's a rare sight. They do this, but I've seen only a few guys doing that, and I've never caught them because I was too late.
Okay. I did have a couple more questions here. Let me bring that up. It'll be a second. Then let's see. The next question was from Mordor's. Will we ever see overcooking return? I really hope so, actually. There should be some kind of
overcooking or overclocking.
I'm assuming he probably maybe overcooking. Yeah, he must have meant overclocking. Is overcooking a thing? What is that?
Well,
when you overcook like EMP.
Right. Oh, because I thought when he said overcooking, it's like I remember playing Scum. You can just overcook the food, and then it's gonna be bad for you. But that's not Star Citizen. That's the only time or DayZ you can overcook the food. So I was surprised to see overcooking. I think he meant overclocking, actually.
Overclocking.
I don't know about the overclocking. Yeah.
Overclocking.
Overclocking.
Just confirm. Overclocking.
Yeah.
So instead of talking about cooking, overclocking.
Yeah. Well, it never worked good. Back in the day, it was just mandatory. You would just do that, and that's it. So, well, there has to be a certain gameplay to it. Like there have to be like negatives to doing that. Like in Eve, let's say, in Eve, if you like overclock the modules, the moment you press that, you have moments until they will burn out. So, well,
just degrade. Right.
Yeah, it depends, not moments, but they like Eve modules, they always work in cycles.
Okay.
So the moment you overclock a module, it will start gaining heat, and it will damage. The more heat it gets, the more damage the module will get, and it will also spread heat and damage to the components near it. So it's a very, very, very nuanced decision you have to do in a very specific moment, if at all, during the fight. So unless something like this is implemented, I don't want to see any overcooking in the game where you would just blindly open MFD and overcook everything, and and everyone is getting cooked because it makes no sense, right?
Well, it would be cool to see weapons where like heat, building of heat weapons actually able to take advantage of that, and you have to fire them off before you overcook, because it makes it a more powerful weapon during that fire. Some sort of, I think something like that would make it useful, right?
But what's the negative with that?
The negative is the destruction of the components, so you stop melting your components.
Exactly. Yeah. So that has to be calculated, and considering they cannot balance like something as simple as 2 + 2, I don't see them balancing 2 + 2 multiplied by 1.69, right? So I think it's the next stage. Let them let them cook.
Let them cook.
Let them cook the basics. Let them cook the basics before we get into overcooking, right? So I'm gonna call now overclocking only overcooking, bro.
Overcooking from now on.
Yeah,
okay, it's
now
official.
Overcooking.
So
what were you gonna say, Alter?
The next one was from Zarek Masters. Where will you pirate in 4.0? The gate, the outpost, a mantis, and a major trade. What does that say? Trade lane. Okay.
Trade lane.
I have a counter question to Zarek. Where would you pirate at 1.0? At space stations, player stations, which system will you do? That's literally the same question. Like when you don't have any inputs, you don't have any outputs. Like our inputs are so unknown, there is no way to tell you what is the output, right? So
personally, my plan is to follow the trends. Like what you see is the popular route. You just do that. That's what piracy is.
Follow the YouTube videos from traders.
Exactly. Yep. Or just get some. Like I've got like 2 or 3 insiders that I work with a few like decently well-known like Bob orgs, and that's also really good for intel, because then you can strike that, and then you can give them like a cut of the profit, and it's actually fun, like intentional gameplay like that too.
Yeah, that is a valid gameplay loop. It's
The next one too is kind of a troll.
Okay, to Dead Frag and Elder Relic, how do you pirate with such a small nose? How do you find targets?
That's my nose profile.
So is he trying to say you like sniff them out or something? I don't.
No, they're just memeing about my big nose. That's it. we have all the needed emotes, and all of that. That's
how do you find targets? I think it's about trying to find like the popular locations where traders might be, just scouting for a few seconds at a time, seeing if there's like any kind of traffic, and again like following trends on the server. If there's like a global alert, you follow that and see where it kind of leads to, stuff like that. It's just like taking those context clues, adding them together, and then just following that out. Spreading out as like a scouting team also helps to some degree too. But like you said, it does, the moment you do that, if you find a target, it does reduce your like resources and like manpower. If like say I run into a Connie at Smo 18,
and it's a problem.
Now I have to wait.
It's a problem without server meshing, right? Because you grow your team to like 20, and you have like quarter of a server is your team already. You're like now you're lacking targets.
Pretty much, yeah.
That emote with the nose.
Which one?
That's why I like. It's funny,
griefer brain.
Griefer brain, yeah. It's funny.
That's why I brought up the whole point of like making sure that you have like a healthy ratio of like PvE to PvP players, because that is very helpful. I think, especially that because if you're constantly running into PvPers, they're either like scaring your targets or they're competition at that point, right? Which is good. It's healthy. That's how it should be. But it's just going to be that constant back and forth until someone just gives up, typically. So.
Yep. Shit, you get the same emote, the QED emote, like I do. Look at that. We can put them together, and we have the. Oh wait. How
actually, we've got 3 of them.
How did you do the griefer prefix? If I had the griefer prefix,
I don't have.
Is the case matters? Look, so your prefix to all your emotes is griefer.
I've also got the orange one. It actually came from like.
Oh, you mean because of the name of it, the actual name?
I don't know.
Let's put them together. Yeah, like this. You see?
Wait, we both got the same thing?
Yeah, he's got the
Wow,
2AD too.
plagiarism.
Ah, shit.
So my question is, I never knew that the prefix to the emotes, right?
Mhm.
If you want to just type them, it's case sensitive because
Oh, that's
apparently
cool.
like because I don't know how long you have this prefix that is called like griefer.
On this channel, maybe in the last year. So I think
Yeah,
you
because
had
I
yours
have
first.
this like for multiple years,
Yeah.
right? The griefer prefix for all my emotes, and now
Mhm.
I see this. I never knew that's a thing. That's cool. Okay.
Ended up like drawing this one out like in Illustrator a while ago, and then just
No,
kind of.
no, no.
Oh,
I'm not
holy
talking about the
moly.
emote. I'm not talking about the emote
Oh, you're talking
itself.
about
It's the name, the actual name of
The
it.
Oh,
name,
the name. I see what you're
the
saying. Yeah.
griefer like prefix you
Interesting.
set at the beginning of the emote, right? We have it's the same
Prefix, not
literally.
graphics. Gotcha. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. I think we are good on questions, unless there was anybody that I missed
Jesus.
in.
Boss,
chat?
his is higher resolution. Talk smack is funny.
I just want to point out that Zarek doesn't know how to spell resolution.
Resolution.
All right. I was gonna say, with that being said, I want to say thank you, Cutlet, for joining today. It was it's always a blast like chatting with you, but like I love that you were cool with joining us on the cast. I know it took a little bit to like figure out schedules.
Yeah, but this
I really
timing is
appreciate that.
perfect, bro. It's like midday. It's perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah, because later on, like I stayed yesterday on Paul's like what's his Astropub, podcast until like 2 a.m. But it was like kind of okay because it was Saturday, right? Today is Sunday.
that
But
makes sense.
today, if I would stay and I would talk like at 2 a.m. while my wife is trying to sleep, that's going to be a problem. So
Right,
this
of course.
timing was literally perfect.
All right, and then I'm actually seeing. I think Salty Mike is live. Do you guys mind if we go raid him? Is that cool?
You sure?
Let's do that.
No,
And then,
that guy. Psh,
shut up, Elder. No one
yeah.
cares.
He's not nice to me.
So just a reminder that tonight's episode will be on YouTube probably today. Actually, I'm just gonna get it posted right away as soon as I can, and then make sure you guys subscribe over there. Let me get a link for that. And then if you guys haven't already checked out Cutlet, make sure you go check out his YouTube and his Twitch.
Yes, dude. I'm gonna go do more
good.
Polaris things right now.
You should. Are you gonna go live again? You should just press.
Do you want to
just
just rage right back into you?
I don't know.
Just press live, and then we'll do that. That sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's fucking do it. But again, thanks again for like joining. It was I always like having these kinds of
Oh man, I love to talk about the stuff, bro. it's I can like it's just good when I'm like the only guest because like every time there's like multiples is such a problem. I know like how talkative I am, and it's like I always have to back myself off.
Mike said he's a chatterbox, so be careful.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Go live, and then we'll.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Love it.
Good night, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.